This is All Ears. Well, hi there. I am Everett Hopfner, pianist, new music explorer, and now host of this podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. My guest this week is Carissa Klopoushak. She is a versatile and powerful violinist and a very proud product of the prairies, active all across Canada. Together with pianist Jacqueline Woods, Carissa founded the Ritornello Festival in Saskatoon, which will hold its 7th edition at the end of the month, May 29th to 31st. I caught up with Carissa recently while she was in Saskatoon, celebrating the launch party for the Ritornello Festival and recording an album with her Ukrainian folk band, Tutti Tam. We'll talk about that, as well as Carissa's work with the National Arts Centre Orchestra in Ottawa, and much more, right after this. All Ears is a new spotlight for young musicians making a real difference in their communities. New episodes are posted twice a month. You can go to my website, everetthopfner.com, to subscribe to the iTunes feed and make sure you'll never, ever miss an episode. You can also explore the back catalog and find links and further information about all my previous guests. While you're there, please consider leaving a rating and a review in the iTunes store. It really does make a big difference. Carissa Klopoushak, welcome to All Ears.
Oh, thank you. No, it's really fun to chat with you again, too. Wow.
Let's talk about Saskatchewan. Now, you grew up in Saskatoon or near Saskatoon?
In Saskatoon proper. I spent my whole life there. Growing up doing the whole Suzuki music thing and had a violin teacher. Philip Kashup was my teacher forever. So I stayed through for my undergrad as well. And nearing the end of that, I was already working with the symphony, but then I got the principal second job with the Saskatoon Symphony. So I stayed in Saskatoon until I was 24 and had a wealth of experiences. I think that I learned a lot while being here, just having a lot of opportunities thrust upon me, which was really great. It was great.
Yeah, can you tell me about some of those opportunities? What were the institutions or the paths that helped you develop in Saskatoon?
Well, definitely the Suzuki program in Saskatoon is really strong. And that was kind of one of the first things that, that's how we got into music. My brother and I both played violin from an early age. I was 4, he was 5 maybe. And my dad learned alongside us for a short time. And my mom was accompanying us on the piano for that. But the teachers, that community, they're really amazing, dedicated, giving people who've seen most of the musicians through this town grow and help them develop, so that's an extremely important one in my life, especially, and then as well with the youth orchestra with Wayne Toews conducting, and now it's Richard Carnegie, a friend of mine, who's taken over. It's a really important institution in Saskatoon where we all came together and learned to create music together. Beyond that, of course, the Saskatoon Symphony. It's one of the older orchestras in the country, actually. And so it's been around for a very long time. And it's been, it's going through a really interesting resurgence right now. They've got a new conductor coming in and a newer general manager in the last few years. And there's a lot more excitement coming from that organization too. But my time spent with that group was really invaluable as well.
What led to your decision to pack up for a little while and leave hometown?
Well, it's, in fact, I think a lot of it came from suggestions from wonderful coworkers, actually,
right.
Really good friends that had just sort of, they were remembering how much they learned by leaving home, going elsewhere and going to a bigger music school. The U of S was, a really great experience for me, but it's a small program, and the string program at the time was very, really small indeed. I was the only violin player, in fact, the only string player really for a few years.
Oh my gosh.
So,
okay.
yeah, exactly. So which meant that I had all of the opportunities. If anyone needed a violin player, I was the one. So that worked out really well. But it also meant that I didn't have that same feeling of a peer group or learning alongside anybody else. And that was something that they kind of thought we were just having conversations, over beer. And then someone just finally said, Carissa, what are you doing? You have to leave. Like, what are you doing? And kind of hit home. So, that summer, I had done some summer programs, but I looked into some a little bit more seriously, and I went, it's a really fun, easygoing program in Halifax, Scotia Fest. I went there, and that's where I started working with Jonathan Crow, who's now the concertmaster of the Toronto Symphony. At the time, he was the concertmaster of Montreal and was teaching at McGill. And so, we really hit it off, and I really enjoyed learning with him. And I did a few auditions around for master's programs, and including at McGill, and I ended up choosing to study with him because I think he's a real asset to the Canadian musical community. He's, not only is he a fantastic violinist, that's just... he has such ease on the instruments. It makes everybody pretty angry sometimes. but not only that, he's a absolutely professional. Just one of the most kind, and he also one of the musicians with the most perspective that I've ever met. At the end of the day, this is my job, and it's a passionate job. It was something that we feel very strongly about. But you know what? I got girls at home. I kind of like that attitude. So I learned a lot from him in the 2 years of the master's program. So that was, 2006, I started that. And, you know what? I enjoyed it so much, and I was really kind of on a roll with the learning. I felt like my playing had come a long way, and I've always been interested in, I like school. I'm not
right.
I'm nerdy like that. It's cool. So I actually decided that I'd love to, pursue, doctoral studies. So I did some auditioning around for that too, and that's always a fun experience to go check out different places and different teachers, and of course after that I ended up staying at McGill.
Right.
Because you know what, it's just sort of where I saw myself. Montreal, of course, is a really attractive city to live in, and the lifestyle that you can lead. Yeah, the life that you can lead there is a really nice way of living, and of course, that I was really enjoying my time with Jonathan, thought I could still get something out of it. And I started to have a lot of teaching opportunities, and had made some performing things as well, working out there. So, it was kind of reason enough to stay. And, I've always been I've been very proud to be Canadian and being from here, and also being proud of our Canadian institutions. Mm-hmm. Not to say that, of course, going away and studying elsewhere is really great, but I thought, I don't need to go anywhere else if I'm enjoying my time here. There's no necessarily, no reason to necessarily. So I enjoyed that, and I stayed at McGill for another 4 years, and so I ended up staying in Montreal for a total of 9 years. I think just moved away in August, and it was an amazing time. Nearly a decade in a city like that is fantastic. It's so cultural, and it's actually kind of super saturated with artists. It's there's always something going on. You can always go see a show. You can always just wander down the street, and you'll run into someone and find something you want to see, and of course the food and the drink, and I'm really all about that. And the coffee, wow. So,
not much to complain about.
Seeing that you follow my social media feeds, you would know those are major interests of mine as well. So,
let's start to get into some of your many multidisciplinary recent and your current performance highlights. And just, I don't know, to me, you're somebody who just really exemplifies the attitude of embracing what is out there and you put yourself into a lot of different contexts and a lot of different directions, and as a freelance artist, you're active in a lot of different projects, and it seems to me like you've really done a lot to sample a lot of the different institutions that are out there in Canada and see what's available.
Yeah, I guess. I really crave variety. I have a wide variety of interests, I suppose, and a lot of many passions, and in music. For me, music is music. I like a lot of different kinds of music and art, and I find that doing one thing alone makes me go a little bit crazy. So my family background is Ukrainian, and we grew up in that community and are still active in it. And so I grew up playing a lot of Ukrainian folk music with, jamming with my dad and my great uncle Peter and a bunch of other people, my brother, of course. And my brother and I still play in a Ukrainian band today. We've been around for about 12 years, and we all live in different cities. And it's, but because we've been playing together so long, we can, it's still really fun. We're a Ukrainian party band. We play a lot of, weddings and parties. And right now I'm in Saskatoon currently to record our 4th album. So I'm in town for that. And so I'm, heading to the studio later today. So that's one of my really important projects. And, also while here, we threw a launch party for my chamber music festival. So Saskatoon, of course, is really important to me. I grew up here, and my, festival co-director, Jacqueline Woods, who's a pianist, she grew up in Melfort, and has spent some time in Waka as well, close to Saskatoon. And then we went to the U of S together for our undergrad degrees. And we really, became fast friends. And later on, she moved on did her master's in Ottawa with Anton Querty, and then went to Stony Brook for further grad studies, doctoral studies as well. And approximately 8 years ago, we were having a conversation just saying, what? This is crazy. Everybody that grows up here in Saskatoon, studies, does really well, leaves, and we don't see these people again, or these people don't have an opportunity to come back. Or if they do, they're on holiday and, not doing any performing or things like that. And we thought, well, what a shame. So we threw together a festival, and the first one it was thrown together, kind of a quick idea. Okay, how do we do this? We had 6 performers, really brave souls that came and we did 3 concerts with a week of rehearsals, and, it was amazing. It was taxing and emotionally draining, and it just sort of poured everything we had into it just to make it's a thank you to Saskatoon for raising us musically, and as an opportunity for our performers, here, this is what we've done, this is what we're doing. But basically, we also noticed that Saskatoon doesn't have a chamber music festival. It's the only one in Saskatchewan, actually. And so we thought, well, hey, opportunity, and we should do this, and let's throw some chamber music parties. Why not? So 7 years later, here we are, and this year, we've really grown, and the initial mandate, as I said, was sort of bringing people back to Saskatoon, and so the festival is aptly named the Ritornello Fest, and it's just that kind of indicative of bringing people back. And we've expanded the mandate a little bit to bring other Canadian artists that just should come and play here. So last year,
Sure.
the Cecilia String Quartet came and performed. And this year, we're really, really excited that Laura St. John is coming to join us. And she's a fabulously, she's an amazing violinist and really creative. And she is a Canadian violinist living in New York. And she's been there for a long time now. But she's a very proud Canadian. I've heard about these. She has a Canada Day party every year where she serves food from each province of Canada. She's sort of she's another educator and advocate for Canada down south of the border, which is really cute, I think. Yeah.
Really cool.
So she's coming and joining, and it'll be fun. We're doing the Friday concert will be an Eastern European extravaganza. We're kind of, she's been doing a lot of klezmer and Eastern European music, and she's releasing an album of that stuff in the fall. So she's going to be really playing a lot of that on the first half, and then we'll play some of the Tchaikovsky string sextet, the Souvenir de Florence, on the second half with big, epic, fun chamber music party piece.
Carissa, getting people like Laura St. John and the Cecilia Quartet to come, those are big names in any context. That's a big get for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you think? What have you done right that's gotten you to a place that 7 years later you can start making these kind of phone calls and getting these kind of responses coming your way?
Well, once again, it's sort of a two-way street. What have we done right? Well, we're really proud to say that we've run in the black every year, which is, you got 2 musicians running something that involves finances. That always makes me a little nervous. It's not a talent of mine, but so we're really pleased to say that there's enough interest, and we run it in a way where, yeah, we with grants and ticket sales, we can make it work, which is great. But, and of course, it actually comes down to a lot, that because Jacqueline and I are performers, and we have our friends and colleagues that come because playing chamber music together is fun, and because we get to see each other, and because we know these people, and I didn't know Laura well before this. We were actually just sort of Facebook friends with a million people in common, and it was getting to the point where, how do we not know each other already? One of those kinds of situations. But
Sure.
Also, I think it's important to note that a lot of the people that we've asked are just, they're game. They're really fun people that just, they want to come and play, and they'll make it work too. So, and we've talked to many other artists, and I don't want to get to reveal our future plans, but there are some other really, iconic Canadian groups that are like, yeah, Saskatoon, sure, yeah, let's do it, So that's really encouraging too. I mean, people want to come and play. That's how, that's how the music world works. That's how we want to do things. So I think, we'll take credit where credit is due. We're doing some things right, I think, but I think a lot of it comes down to just people being engaged performers that want to play together, which is really nice. Willing to make things work.
Well, what a great roster you've assembled for this festival, and also what a great testament to, as we've been talking about, the strength and the vitality of the music communities now happening all across the prairies. It's great to see all these local and locally connected artists making their return back for this festival. It's really terrific.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really excited about it.
Carissa, you mentioned now that you've got a job, and you're a full-time job working with the National Arts Centre Orchestra.
Yes.
When and how did that come about?
Well, that should be an easy answer. But no, it's kind of great actually. While I was in Montreal at McGill, sometime during my master's degree, I think Jonathan was playing as their concertmaster for a time while they were under a search. And there was this one time where it seemed like all of the violinists in Ottawa all got some sort of plague-like illness all at the same time. So everyone was out, and I got this phone call from the National Arts Centre saying, "Hey, can you come and sub?" And it was just for, show up for the dress rehearsal and the concert. I was like, oh, that's okay. That's a bit tight, but I think I can make it work. And so I guess Jonathan had given my name, and from that initial concert, then I joined them for just as an extra musician for a Western Canadian tour, Atlantic tour, and it's sort of just increasing exponentially how much I played with them throughout the years. It's been about 5 years now, in fact, that I've been playing with them semi-regularly. And then, a position became open, and I did the audition process, and it was really interesting too, because that was the same time that I was just about the audition process happened right before I was already committed to go to Australia for a time, for 3 months. I had done a 3-week stint and then a 3-month stint with the Australian Chamber Orchestra. And so the NAC Orchestra were really great to kind of to wait on me, which was fabulous, and really, I mean, just it's a great set of colleagues, and everybody to work with. They're fabulous. So that was really nice. And so I guess the simple answer is that I auditioned for a job and I got one, which is nice. And but it's been great because over the last few years I've gotten to know a lot of these people who are not only really dedicated and amazing musicians, but really wonderful people, really caring, and really trying to do something together, which is nice. I have a quartet that's come out of the NAC Orchestra, and we're playing we played some new music and some Dvorak, and lots of things are coming out of that job too that are kind of turning into, because I need them, more side projects.
Sure.
But, it's working out really well. It's a fantastic place to be, and I feel very grateful to have that opportunity to work with these wonderful people.
Carissa, this episode is going to be released in May, which is also the month, which is right before the festival, of course, but it's also the month of the Ecogrammatic competition in Brandon.
Yes.
Just briefly, there's just been a new string winner crowned this year. If you could give like one or two pieces of advice to the person coming through, what would you tell them?
What kind of advice? No, just enjoy it. I mean, enjoy the opportunity that comes from touring the country. That's great. That was one of the most fun musical things that I ever got to do, was in 2009 to go 17 cities across the country. And you know this too. I think it was just really important to go across and to play for different people and to see the country and to meet people from all around. And just, to enjoy that and to, learn as much as you can from that experience. And it's one of those things they say, like one performance is worth 10 rehearsals. It's the same kind of thing. That one tour will teach you so much about yourself as a performer, as a person. And I think just, take it all in. That's the only thing I would say.
Carissa, can you tell me about your violin?
Yeah. I am so lucky to be performing on, it's a 1869 Jean-Baptiste Viome violin, and it comes with a bow that comes from the Viome workshop as well. So that's a French maker. It's part of the Canada Council for the Arts Musical Instrument Bank collection. And that's a really unique and amazing program that Canada has. And that was a really interesting thing, actually, spending time, especially in Australia, or if you're visiting the States or visiting other places where, I just, if you happen to mention, or it's in my bio that I have this violin that comes from this council, and people just say, well, that's just such an amazing program. Like, how does that work? And so you go into describe how, well, it's an interview and audition process. You start by sending in an application. A pretty extensive one with personal statements and plans for the future and what you've been up to and what concerts you have booked for the future, and of course a tape. And then if you're accepted into the final round, then there will be a live audition and interview. When again, both are really, things are considered, how you play, of course, a given, and then what you do and how you will share this instrument with the Canadian community. And that's a really important thing for them. It helps build the classical music scene and sort of in the country, but also what a leg up for younger musicians like we are, that could really benefit from having a really fine instrument. And so it's a really interesting process, and it's a 3-year loan. So actually my time with the Viome will be up at the end of August, actually. So I'll enjoy my last 5 months with the instrument as much as I possibly can, and
absolutely
play everywhere as much as I can. And then who knows from there what'll happen. So, I don't know. World is your oyster kind of thing.
That's great. And what a cool program. And I mean, if people like you are getting these instruments, then I'm fully in support of it.
Oh, thank you.
So Carissa, what do you have coming up next?
Well, I'm releasing a CD actually in the fall, and I finished recording with Phil Chu, who is the wonderful pianist with whom I played for the Eckhart Grammaté competition and the tour, and then since then we've done a debut Atlantic tour, as well as played in and around Montreal and Ottawa quite a bit, because he was always around McGill, and he's wonderful to work with. We had a lot of fun together. So we finally put down a lot of the music actually that we performed at the Eckhart Grammaté. So the Janacek Sonata, which I love, and Pat Carabray's Chacon, which was the commission piece that year for the competition. And so we've recorded that, which is going to be really fun to have out there. And another Canadian piece by Claude Vivier, and 2 more sonatas by Debussy and Healy Willan, another Canadian. So it's sort of it's a good mix of Canadian music. It's all 20th century, and the 3 sonatas they are written within 3 years of one another, all right during World War I. So it's really fantastic because you get sort of 3 different perspectives on that same time period from 3 very different people. We did a series of little house concerts and 1 concert in Toronto to prepare the recording, and it flows together in some sort of magical way. So I'm really excited for that release. It'll be in the fall sometime. Still working out the details. We're still in the editing process right now. But I'm so happy that that's completed. I'm really, really pleased about it, and looking forward to seeing the final product, actually. It's going to be really exciting.
No kidding. Well, I'm excited about that too. I mean, you guys were already playing that music so well in 2009. I can just imagine what it sounds like now. And I'll certainly keep the listeners posted when the CD is dropped.
Thank you.
And spread the links and spread the word because this will definitely be worth hearing.
Thank you.
Carissa, we do a recurring segment on the podcast called, well, it has a different name all the time. Let's call it the Mr. Rogers Memorial Wonderful Person of the Day.
Yay!
Hurrah! Can you tell me about somebody who's helped you along the journey to get where you are today?
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, limiting to one is just impossible, I think. I find that my support, I always have felt so supported by so many. But to cut it down a bit, let's do it that way.
Sure.
Of course, my colleagues, the people that surround me, every day in the music making that I do, I think, at sometimes that was, my roommates while I was in music school, or the colleagues that I work with now, or of course my family and the guys in my Ukrainian band, extra brothers. I think those people and sort of their constant everyday affirmation and support is really what makes all the difference. It's the sense of community that matters the most, and feeling that support from those people really make a difference. Okay, if I have to single out, I think I'm going to go with my grandparents. I have 3 grandparents who have always been extraordinarily supportive of everything that I've done. And that probably matters the most. And one of my grandfathers always likes to say after I perform something, he said, well, not bad, not bad. Like, thank you for the effusive compliment. But I have always felt really supported, and they're ever present in everything that I've ever done. So I think that would be how I would single that out.
That's really beautiful.
Thanks.
Finally, Carissa, how can the fine listeners of All Yours keep track of your activities?
So I have a website, CarissaKlopoushak.com, where you can follow my adventures and see what I'm about. And I'm also, as Everett knows, I'm active on Twitter and Facebook, and so Twitter is a great way to connect. And I'm also on Instagram. I love to take pictures while I'm on my travels, and in the last 2 years I've been traveling a lot, and it seems like my friends always joke that I'm always on a plane heading somewhere every time they see me. So, that's a great way to keep in contact. I'd love to hear from anybody who's listening, who's interested. And, that would be really fun as well. Of course I have websites for the festival, ritornello.ca, and then for my Ukrainian band, which is called Tutti Tam. I'll send it your way too, in case anyone is interested.
Great, and I'll put links up to all those platforms on my website on the show notes for this page.
Great, thank you.
My pleasure. Carissa, just as a way of trying to summarize and try to say thank you for all of your time and all of this enlightening conversation this morning. I think I look back on my time in Brandon with very, very fondly, of course, but having the IGRA competition there every year and going through and watching and being around people like you and all the other competitors I met over the years, that was such a foundational experience for me. And to just see somebody like you and Philip and how hard you work together and how well you work together and how passionate you were about the repertoire and about just being committed to honest, open musical communication. That was it was a very early, really foundational experience for me, just being around you and just seeing how you work and your passion for what you do. So that, although our paths crossed so briefly back then, it really has resonated with me all these years later. And I look back on those days very, very fondly, not only for the atmosphere and stuff, but just these little moments of inspiration that I'm grateful for all these years later. So I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you so much for saying. Like I've said already, it's a two-way street. I remember your energy was so helpful to us during that competition. So for the listeners that don't know, Everett was turning pages for us during the competition, and such a calming, wonderful presence that made it much more fun and easygoing for me, the competitor at the time. So thank you, and I'm really glad that we are still in touch now.
Me too. What a joy.
Yeah.
Carissa, I think for the purposes of this podcast, I think we have wrapped this up rather successfully. So thank you once again.
No, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, this is going to be great.
Thank you so much to Carissa for joining me on All Ears. The 7th edition of the Ritornello Festival hits Saskatoon May 29th to 31st. I cannot recommend it highly enough. There is just a terrific lineup of artists this year, including violinists Laura St. John and Carissa Klopoushak, violists Ryan Davis and Jim Legg, cellists Simon Fryer and Scott McKnight, pianists Catherine Dowling, Jacqueline Woods, and Sophia Michik, clarinetist Krista Martins, flautist Jennifer McAllister, Dean McNeil on trumpet, guest composer Leah Pass, and guest narrator Heather Morrison. So be sure to check that out if you're in Saskatchewan. You can follow me on Twitter at EvHopf for updates about the show. You can follow at This Is All Ears. Check out the back catalog. Subscribe to the podcast at my website, everetthopfner.com. All Ears is back in June. Talk to you then.